I want you to picture something with me. You know that feeling when you're driving on the highway?
Mm.
Maybe it's late at night or it's one of those, long, boring stretches of road in the middle of the day.
Oh, yeah, the sun is just beating down.
Exactly. And the rhythm of the road has kind of lulled you into a trance. You're not asleep, not really. Your eyes are open, but you're not fully awake either.
You're on autopilot.
Total autopilot. You're just cruising. The music is low, the white lines are a blur, and your mind is just drifting.
That's a real thing, actually. I think researchers call it highway hypnosis. Your brain literally disengages from the active task because the environment is too predictable.
Highway hypnosis. That's it.
Yeah, you're in a flow state, but it's not the good kind. It's the kind where you completely lose track of time. You look up and realize you've gone 20 miles and you don't remember a single second of it.
Not a single one. And then all of a sudden, BZZT, you hit the rumble strip. That vibration just shoots up the steering wheel. That loud, jarring noise shakes the entire car, and your heart, leaps into your throat.
Yeah, that jolt.
You jerk the wheel back to the center, you're wide awake, adrenaline is just pumping through you, and you have that moment of, whoa, I was drifting, I was about to go right off the road.
That rumble strip is terrifying in the moment, isn't it? But it's actually, it's a beautifully designed mechanism.
How so?
It's designed to be jarring. It's designed to be unpleasant.
Yeah.
Because it's a necessary wake-up call. It's there to break the drift before the drift becomes a total disaster.
And today we are talking about exactly that moment, but not in a car. We're talking about the rumble strips of life.
The big ones.
We're doing a deep dive into From Drift to Drive by Chris Robinson. And let me tell you, this is not just another productivity book. This isn't, 5 ways to organize your inbox.
No, not at all.
This is a survival guide. It's for high achievers who have fallen asleep at the wheel of their own lives.
It is. And what's so fascinating about Robinson's work is his core argument. He says that hitting the rumble strip or, even crashing the car is often the best thing that can happen to you.
That seems counterintuitive.
It does, but he reframes it. We see a crisis as this terrible, unfair event. Robinson says, no, that's the necessary friction. It's the jolt you needed to wake you up from this coma of comfort you were in.
And he knows this from experience. He didn't just hit a rumble strip. He practically totaled the car.
He really did.
I really want to set the scene for his story because it's heavy and it explains everything. So picture this. It's just a normal Tuesday morning. You're in your house, a house you actually built.
You picked out the tile, the paint colors, your dream home.
Yes, your dream home in the suburbs. It represents everything you've ever worked for.
The symbol of making it. It's the American dream, right there in brick and mortar.
Exactly. So you're standing there looking out these big arched windows into your backyard. You see the trees, the flower bed, and you're picturing your kids playing out there. And not just any kids. Robinson had just had triplets.
Triplets.
Yeah.
Let's just pause on that for a second.
Right.
That is a level of pressure and responsibility that is, it's hard to even put into words. Just the sleep deprivation alone is enough to break most people, let alone the financial weight of 3 new human beings depending on you.
3 new lives.
Yeah.
So he's standing there, imagining this future for them in this yard, and there's a knock at the door. It's the sheriff.
Oh, boy.
And he's not there for a friendly visit. He hands Robinson the smooth, right envelope. Robinson opens it right there in the hallway, and inside are the foreclosure papers.
Wow, that is the definition of a visceral wake-up call. That's not a rumble strip. That's the airbag going off in your face.
It's devastating. He has to close the door, turn around, look at that same backyard where his toddlers were supposed to play, and just realize it's gone. The dream is over. He said it was like a cymbal crash that just shattered everything. He thought he was successful. He thought he'd reached his ceiling. But the reality was he was asleep at the wheel.
And this is where we have to pause and really analyze what he calls the drift. Because if you look at that situation, foreclosure, triplets, job instability, you might think the problem was just bad luck.
Right, you blame the economy or the housing market.
Of course, that's what most of us do. We externalize the blame. But Robinson identifies a much more insidious enemy. He realized he hadn't just been unlucky. He had been complacent. He thought he had arrived, so he stopped driving.
And that's the core theme we have to unpack today. Complacency. Because, I think most people hear that word and they just think it means lazy.
Right, guy on a couch?
Yeah, eating potato chips, watching daytime TV, refusing to get a job.
No, and that is such a critical distinction. If you take away nothing else from this deep dive, understand this, complacency is not laziness. Laziness is choosing not to do the work. Complacency is doing the work on autopilot. It's what Robinson calls careless security.
Careless security. That sounds like a paradox. Security is supposed to be a good thing.
It is, but this is rooted in the original Hebrew definition of the word, which implies a false sense of safety. It's the belief that because you were successful yesterday, you will automatically be successful tomorrow without changing a single thing.
It's satisfactory success.
That's the phrase he uses. You're doing well enough, so you just stop trying to do better. You're coasting.
So it's actually a side effect of winning. Like, you can't be complacent if you're losing all the time.
Precisely. It attacks the winners. Robinson uses this term that I find absolutely fascinating, victory disease.
Victory disease.
It's a military concept. The Japanese call it senshubyu.
Senshubyu. Okay, let's unpack that. That sounds like something we really need to dig into.
It describes what happens to a military force, or even a whole nation, after a series of just massive, unbelievable wins. They get arrogant. They stop innovating. They assume the strategies that worked before are, invincible.
Okay, give me an example.
Look at Pearl Harbor. From the Japanese perspective, that was a huge, unprecedented tactical success. I mean, they crippled the U.S. fleet. They felt untouchable.
They felt like they'd already won the war in the Pacific.
Exactly. But that very victory, that sense of being untouchable, led directly to their own disaster at the Battle of Midway.
How so?
Admiral Ugaki, who was one of the architects of the attacks, was so confident, so complacent in his victory, that he used the exact same techniques for Midway. He didn't consider that the Americans might have adapted.
He didn't change the playbook.
He didn't even think he needed to. He didn't consider that American codebreakers had intercepted his plans. He was driving on autopilot, completely based on his past success. And the result? Japan lost 4 aircraft carriers. They lost their best pilots. It literally turned the tide of World War II.
Wow. That is a massive rumble strip. That's not just a crash. That's a historical turning point.
It is. And you see it in history over and over again. The Roman Empire is another one Robinson cites.
The Pax Romana.
Right. 500 years of relative peace and dominance. They were the world. They had the economy, the military, the culture. But they collapsed because they just assumed they would always be the world. They stopped innovating.
They got comfortable.
Exactly. They stopped paying attention to what was happening outside their borders, the barbarian migrations, the shifts in trade, because they were too comfortable inside them. They thought the walls would hold forever simply because they had held for centuries.
It's that too big to fail mentality, isn't it? We see that in business all the time. You think of Blockbuster, Kodak, Sears.
All of them had victory disease. They were kings of their industry, and then they weren't.
Exactly. But Robinson, and this is what I love, he brings it down to a personal level. He talks about Richard Petty, the king of NASCAR.
The king, number 43.
The man is a legend. 7 wins at Daytona. The sunglasses, the hat. I mean, he is the icon of that sport.
An absolute legend. But look at the end of his career. For the last 8 years, he just stopped winning. And Petty himself admitted why. He said, "We'd been winning for 20 years and decided we wouldn't change."
That's a direct quote, isn't it?
It is. New technology was coming in, better tires, better aerodynamics, more efficient crew systems. And Petty's team just said, nah, we're the king. We do it our way. They refused to adapt.
We should have led the way, but we didn't even follow. That's the quote from the book. That is just heartbreaking.
It is.
To see a champion fade away, not because he lost his talent, but because he lost his adaptability, because of complacency.
It's the tragic cost. And Robinson uses this brilliant analogy to bring it all home. He says complacency isn't a hurricane.
A hurricane is loud. You see it coming on the radar. You can prepare.
Right. You board up the windows.
Yeah.
You evacuate. No, he says complacency is termites.
Termites. Ugh. That's a good one. It's unsettling.
It's perfect, though, isn't it? You don't see termites. They're hidden in the walls, just silently eating away at the structure, turning solid wood into dust.
You only realize they're there when the whole thing collapses.
Exactly. When you lean against the wall and your hand goes right through it. He points out that in his home state of Florida, termites are projected to cause half of all damage to buildings by 2040. It's a silent destroyer.
And he links this to marriages, too.
He does. He cites that complacency, just, checking out, stopping the courtship, running on autopilot, is the #1 cause of divorce.
That hits home. It's the sawdust at the baseboards. You just sweep it away and ignore it, but the structure is rotting from the inside.
It's the lack of date nights,
Huh.
the lack of a real "how was your day?" It's assuming the relationship is fine because it was fine yesterday.
So Robinson is standing in his foreclosed dream home, realizing he's been eaten alive by termites. He's got victory disease. How does he turn it around? Because the book is called From Drift to Drive. There has to be a shift.
The shift starts with what Robinson calls the mathematics of mediocrity. And this story, it really illustrates how your environment is just a reflection of your mindset.
This is the 55-inch TV story, right? This one made me look around my own living room with a lot of suspicion.
Yes. So Robinson's trying to rebuild. He's working, trying to get back on his feet after losing the house. And he goes to this conference with Dr. Dennis Kimbro, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice.
Okay.
Kimbro shares this study he did where he interviewed millionaires. And he noticed this really startling pattern in their homes.
Let me guess. They all had massive home theaters and game rooms.
The exact opposite. Kimbro found that the larger the home, so the more successful the person, the fewer TVs they had, and the smaller those TVs were. But when he went into lower income homes, the houses were smaller, but the TVs were massive.
Wow. That's uncomfortable to hear, but it makes a lot of sense. It's about where you're directing your focus.
It hit Robinson like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
He went home that night to his little 800-square-foot apartment. And what was dominating the living room?
A giant TV.
A massive 55-inch TV. He realized his math was totally broken. The equation in his life was 55 inches is greater than 800 square feet. His priorities were all wrong.
He was prioritizing entertainment over education, distraction over development.
Exactly. Which is where he gets this phrase, you cannot have what you cannot see. If your vision is just filled with sitcoms and reality TV, you can't see the path out. If your horizon is limited to a screen, how can you possibly navigate the real world?
So this leads to the concept of the eye exam, like EYE.
Right, a clever pun. He distinguishes between two types of vision problems we have in life when we're complacent, hyperopia and myopia.
For sightedness and nearsightedness.
You got it.
Yeah.
Complacency, hyperopia is when you can see the big dream.
Yeah.
You want to climb Mount Everest, you want to be a billionaire, you want to change the world. You see the big picture.
Right?
But you can't see the coffee table right in front of your face.
Yeah.
You're constantly tripping over the daily steps. You have the vision, but zero discipline. You're always talking about what you're going to do, but you never actually do the dishes.
That is the dreamer who never executes. I know that person. The person with the $1 million idea who never even builds a prototype.
And then you have the opposite problem, complacency myopia. This is the person who is obsessed with the details right in front of them.
The busy bee.
The busy bee. They're organizing their desk, buying the perfect gear for a hobby they never start, color-coding their calendar, but they have no idea where they're actually going. Yeah. They're busy, but they're not moving forward.
Oh man, that is the fake work trap. I am so guilty of that. I was so productive today. I cleared my inbox. I organized my sock drawer. But did I actually move the needle on my life?
Probably not. So Robinson says we need our own eye exam chart, just like at the optometrist. You need the big E at the top. That's your clear, big picture vision. But you also need all the smaller lines below it.
The specific, actionable steps.
For today, for this week, for this month. You have to connect the 55-inch dream to the 800-square-foot reality. You have to align the macro and the micro.
I love that. Okay, so we've defined the enemy. We know it's termites, it's victory disease, it's bad math. Now we get to the real meat of the book, the 7-step framework. This is the roadmap to get back in the driver's seat.
This is the how.
And listeners, you're going to want to stick with us here because we're going to break down each one of these in detail. Step 1 is clarity.
Right. Step 1. Clarity. And to really understand this, we have to go back to Robinson's youth. Because before he was a leadership expert, he was a kid who honestly thought he had an expiration date.
You cannot have what you cannot see. This part of his story is so intense.
It's profound. Robinson grew up truly believing that as a young black man, his future was either dead or in jail by age 25. That was the script he was given. That was the only vision he had for his life.
And because he believed it, he lived it.
It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. He was getting kicked out of college, I think, 6 times. He was racking up DUIs. He was just spiraling out of control because he thought the crash at the end of the road was inevitable.
So he's driving straight for it.
He was. And this is where the story of the red and blue lights comes in. He's sitting on a curb, It's late. He's been pulled over again. The police lights are flashing in his eyes. Red, blue, red, blue.
He's violated his probation.
He knows with absolute certainty, this is it. I'm going to jail. The prophecy is fulfilled. I have reached the destination that I set for myself all those years ago.
But there was a twist. There was a judge, Daniel Pelican, who saw something in him that Robinson couldn't see in himself.
Judge Pelican is a perfect example of someone who lends you their glasses when yours are broken. He looked at Robinson's record and said, "You're not a dumb kid. You passed the Stockbroker Series 7 exam. You have potential."
So instead of just throwing the book at him, he gave him a chance.
You did. But even then, Robinson couldn't fully see it yet. The real clarity moment, the one that changed everything, came from his wife, Jeannie.
She asked him one single question.
One question. They're sitting there dealing with all the fallout from the drinking, the trouble, the chaos. And she just asks him, what would life be like without alcohol? That is the power of what Robinson calls a multifocal lens. Up until that exact moment, Robinson only saw two options: party and have fun, or go to jail. That was it. He couldn't visualize a third path.
Her question forced him to.
It forced him to visualize a specific alternative reality. Clarity isn't just saying, I want to be happy or I want to be successful. It's answering the question, what does that actually look like? What does a sober Chris Robinson do on a Saturday morning? Who are his friends?
Right.
What is his job?
So it's about visualizing the absence of the negative just as much as you visualize the presence of the positive.
Precisely. You have to see the jail cell you are actively avoiding and at the same time see the life you are actively building. Once he had that clarity, he could finally move to step 2, gathering.
Gathering. Okay, now that sounds simple, right? Just buy some books or Google stuff. But Robinson says this is actually the most dangerous transition point. Why is that?
It's because of what he calls the complacency hydra.
Like the monster from Greek mythology.
Exactly. The beast where if you cut off one head, 2 more grow back in its place. When you start gathering resources to change your life, you face these monsters immediately. You try to solve one problem, and suddenly 3 new insecurities pop up.
Let's break down the faces of this hydra. The first one he mentions is DIY to death.
This is the pride trap. This is the voice that says, I can figure this out myself. I don't need help. I don't need a map. It's the refusal to learn from the mistakes of others.
So you waste years just trying to reinvent the wheel.
Because you're too proud to ask for the blueprint.
Okay, then there's face, #2. So special. This is the idea that my problem is unique. No book can help me because nobody understands my specific struggle.
Which is almost never true. I mean, human problems are universal. Someone, somewhere, has already solved the exact problem you have. Thinking you're terminally unique is just a defense mechanism to keep you stuck.
It's an excuse to not change.
It's the ultimate excuse.
Okay, face, #3. More. This is me. This is research paralysis. I can't start the business until I research every possible market trend for the next 10 years.
The shiny object syndrome. You gather so much information that you just drown in it. You feel productive because you're researching, but you aren't actually doing anything.
It's like buying 10 books on diet and exercise. You read none of them, but just buying them felt like you made progress.
That's a perfect example. And finally, there's face #4. Again, this one is for people who have already been successful in one area.
The voice that says, do I really have to start over? Do I really have to be a beginner again?
That is the ego talking. It's the VP at a company saying, I shouldn't have to learn how to use this new software. I'm a VP. It's exhaustion mixed with a little bit of entitlement.
So how do we kill this hydra? Robinson has a mantra for this step. I love how simple it is. Learn a little, do a little.
It's deceptively simple, but it's brilliant because it directly neutralizes that more face of the hydra. Don't read the whole library. Read one chapter. Then go do the one thing that chapter told you to do.
Don't wait until you have a PhD in the subject to take the first step.
Exactly. Gather just enough information to move 1 inch. Then gather more. Then move another inch.
That transitions perfectly into the next step. Step 3, filtering. Because if we are gathering all this information, we need to know what to keep and what to toss.
Robinson uses the acronym AHAB here, always have a book. But he doesn't mean read every word of every book. This is where he completely flips the script on how most of us were taught to read in school.
Right, he says to treat a book like a tool, not like a novel.
Exactly. He has 3 filters for what he calls crushing a book. The first is the content filter.
Don't read cover to cover.
No. You read the table of contents. You read the back cover. You scan for bold text and chapter summaries. You are a hunter looking for a very specific piece of meat. Not a tourist just admiring the scenery. You're looking for the answer to your problem today.
Okay, then there's the learning filter. This is about making sure the information actually sticks. He mentions speed reading and mind mapping.
He does. He references a Stephen Pierce video on mind mapping. But the core idea is to visualize the data. Don't just let the words wash over you. Draw connections. Make it an active process. If you just read it and immediately forget it, then you didn't really gather anything, did you?
Good point. But the most important one for me is the action filter. This is the index card method.
This is brilliant. You take a simple 4x6 index card and you ask 5 questions, but the key word in every question is today. What do I need to read today? Who do I need to call today? What do we need to listen to today?
It forces you into the immediate present. There's a story he tells here about a young man who wanted to buy a lake house. It perfectly illustrates why this filtering is so critical.
Yes. This young guy calls up Chris. He's all excited. Chris, you won't believe it. There's a fire sale on this house. 5 bedrooms, boat dock, amazing price. He's ready to jump on it. He thinks he's found the opportunity of a lifetime.
Then what does Chris ask him?
He asks him 2 simple questions. Were you looking for a house today?
No.
Were you looking for a boat today? No. Then this isn't an opportunity. It's a distraction. That is the power of the filter. If it doesn't align with the eye exam chart you made in step 1, it does not get on the index card in step 3. It doesn't matter if it's a good deal. If it's off course, it's a bad move. It's noise, not signal.
That is some serious discipline. It's so hard to say no to a good thing that isn't the right thing.
It is.
Okay, so that brings us to step 4, guidance. We've got our clarity, we've gathered information, we've filtered it, now we need a guide. He calls them trail angels.
And he uses the ultimate example to illustrate this. Kami Rita, the Sherpa, who has climbed Mount Everest almost 30 times.
30 times. That number is
Yeah.
just insane to me.
But here is the critical distinction that Robinson makes. A Sherpa guides you. They set the ropes. They tell you where to step. They warn you about the coming weather. But they do not carry you up the mountain.
You still have to do the climbing.
You still have to climb.
Yeah.
And too many people, when they look for a mentor, what they really want is a piggyback ride. They want the mentor to do all the hard work for them.
Save me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right. But a true guide, a true mentor, says, I will show you the path, but your own legs have to do the walking.
So how do you find this guide? Robinson breaks it down into 2 ways. The first one is seek to serve.
This is the story about the camera. Chris wanted to become a professional speaker, and he wanted to learn from a pro in the field, namely Thea Owens.
He didn't just ask her for coffee to pick her brain, did he?
No, that's the worst thing you could do. He asked her, how can I help you? What do you need? And it turned out she needed a cameraman for an event.
And Chris, well, he was not a cameraman.
He was terrible at it. He admits the footage was probably shaky and unusable, but that wasn't the point.
The point was he was in the room.
He was in the room. He was serving. His attitude is what got him mentored, not his camera skills.
Yeah.
He showed humility. He showed he was willing to add value before he ever tried to extract value.
I love that. And the second way is pay to play.
This is where people get squeamish. We want free advice.
Well-
We want our friend to read our 300-page book manuscript for free. We want our uncle to give us business advice.
Yeah, Robinson says, stop being cheap.
Exactly. If you want professional results, you have to pay professional prices. Hire the coach. Go to the conference. Buy the course. When you pay attention.
That's true.
You're investing in your own seriousness. If you pay $5,000 for a seminar, you're going to sit in the front row and take detailed notes. If it's free, you'll probably check your email the whole time or maybe not even show up.
That's so true.
Yep.
Okay, so that leads us to the people we surround ourselves with. Step 5, relationships. And he uses this great metaphor of the peloton.
From the Tour de France. A peloton is that tight pack of cyclists all riding together. And the science on this is fascinating. Riding in that pack makes you 40% more efficient.
40%?
40% because of reduced wind drag. You literally go faster with less effort simply because of the people around you. They are breaking the wind for you.
But you have to be in the right peloton. Robinson talks about being in wrong rooms.
He tells a story about joining a networking group when he was starting out. He said they were nice people, very kind, supportive, but they had absolutely no ambition. They were just chatting.
It was a social club.
Right. For where Chris wanted to go, they were useless. They were the nice room, but they were the wrong room. If you're drafting behind a tricycle, you are not going to win the Tour de France.
And then there's that story of the lawyer in Indonesia.
This guy contacts him, hated being a lawyer, felt totally trapped in his career. And Chris's advice was simple. Change your friends. That's it. He said, if all your friends are lawyers who just complain about being lawyers but never do anything to leave, you will never leave either. You need to find a room where people are actually doing what you want to do.
This brings up the whole posture versus imposter concept, because entering a new room, a room full of people who are smarter and more successful than you, is terrifying. You feel like a complete fraud.
Imposter syndrome kicks in hard. It says, I don't belong here. They're going to find me out any second.
Right.
But posture says, I am here to learn. I am a student. Robinson has this great line. If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room.
Yeah.
You want to be the dumbest person in the room because that means you have the most to learn. That feeling of discomfort is the feeling of growth.
I like that. That reframes the fear. So we've got the right people around us. Now we actually have to move step 6, action, the engine.
And this is where most people get stuck. They stall out. Robinson talks about the 2-speed transmission problem. He says most of us only have 2 gears, neutral and overdrive.
I feel so seen right now. I am either on the couch doing nothing, or I am working 18-hour days until I completely burn out. There's no in-between.
And neither one works long-term, right? Neutral is just atrophy. Overdrive is a catastrophe waiting to happen. Robinson suggests a completely different approach. Take the next easiest step.
Not the biggest step, not the hardest step, the easiest step.
The easiest one.
He uses the pickleball analogy here, and everyone is playing pickleball these days, so this should land.
It works perfectly for this. In pickleball, you don't plan the whole game out in advance. You can't. It's too fast.
Right.
You hit the ball, that's the action. Then you watch where it lands. That's the result. Then you adjust your position for the next shot. It's a constant loop. Hit, observe, adjust. Hit, observe, adjust. You cannot adjust your position until you've hit the ball.
That is so freeing. It means you don't need a perfect 5-year plan. You just need to hit the ball once.
Just once. He also attacks what he calls the Santa Claus and Tooth Fairy myths of success. We grow up believing in these magical figures who just deliver the goods overnight. And as adults, we transfer that belief to our goals. We think there is one magical way to do things, the one secret.
The perfect strategy.
Right. So we spend all our time looking for the right way, the perfect way, Robinson says. There is no Santa Claus. There is no one way. Just pick a way and start. If it's the wrong way, you'll find out when you hit the pickleball. But you will never find out by standing still.
Which leads us directly to the final step. How do we know if the ball landed inbounds or out of bounds? Step 7, evaluation. The GPS.
The final, crucial step. How do we know if any of this is working? You have to stop and actually look at the map.
And he gives us 4 simple questions for this evaluation process.
Evaluation questions. They are.
What did I do? Just the raw data. I made 10 sales calls.
2. What I learned that calling after 5 p.m. doesn't work.
3. What did I like? I liked connecting with the person in accounting. What gave you energy? And 4. What would I change? Tomorrow, I'll make all my calls before noon.
It's so simple, but it's really effective. But he warns about a huge psychological trap here.
The biggest trap of all, and this is so important, a result is not you.
See that one more time.
A result is not you. When you take an action and it fails, you launch the project and no one buys it, you try the diet and you gain a pound, that result is just data. It is not a judgment on your soul. It does not mean you are a failure. It simply means the experiment failed.
So you have to treat your life like a lab experiment.
Exactly. If a scientist mixes 2 chemicals and they explode, she doesn't sit in the corner and say, I am a bad person, I'm a failure as a human. No. She says, well, that mixture was volatile. Let's try less nitrogen next time.
You have to detach your identity from the outcome.
You have to. If you attach your self-worth to the result, you will be too scared to evaluate anything, honestly. You'll just hide from the data because you're afraid of what it says about you.
Wow. Okay, let's just take a breath and unpack all of that. We've gone from a foreclosure notice to a laboratory mindset. We've fought the Hydra. We've ridden in the Peloton. But Robinson has one final warning for us in the outro. A traffic cone, as he calls it, that he throws in the road. And it's about the word hustle.
Right. Hustle culture. We hear this word all the time.
Grind. Sleep when you're dead. All of that.
Robinson hates it. And he points out, quite cleverly, that the word hustle has 2 very different meanings. One is to work hard, sure, but the other is to swindle, to hustle someone.
To trick them, to con them.
And that's the trap. Chaotic movement is not progress. When you are just hustling blindly, you are swindling yourself. You're tricking yourself into thinking you're moving forward when you're really just spinning your wheels and burning out.
The framework isn't about that.
Not at all. The framework is about rhythm, not burnout. It's about intentionally driving the car, not just pushing it until you collapse from exhaustion.
He ends the whole book with this beautiful, powerful story about a burned field in Costa Rica.
This is the visual I really want to leave everyone with. Robinson is in Costa Rica, and he sees this field that has been completely scorched. It's black, it's dead, it looks destroyed by fire.
A wasteland.
A total wasteland.
Yeah.
It looks like his life felt the day he got that foreclosure notice. It looks like the end.
But it's not.
No. The farmer explains to him that with just one drop of rain, that whole field turns green overnight. The life is still there, just underground. The roots are still deep and strong.
The lesson. No matter how burned out or complacent you feel, no matter how scorched the earth of your life looks right now, the potential is still in the soil. It just needs the rain of action.
So if you're listening to this and you feel like you've hit the rumble strip, or maybe you feel like you've already crashed and burned, the roots are still there. You just need a little bit of rain.
Learn a little, do a little, just one drop.
That's all it takes to start.
So the message is, take the complacency assessment he offers. Start with step 1, get that clarity, and get back in the driver's seat.
Time to drive.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you on the road.